Well, welcome back again to Resurrecting the Dinosaurs, episode 2.4, 2.5. As you can see, I've got the mechanism running. I've got the mechanism fully together. It's operating properly. In this episode, I'm going to attempt to get the lead truck and possibly the trailing truck on this unit. The problem I'm running into is I don't have enough of a reach on the trailing truck. Well, Mantua's original lead truck, or not the trailing truck, but the lead truck, Mantua's original lead trucks were center mounted off of the lead truck frame, and this one I'm going to have to modify it. I don't have a Mantua center truck, but I do believe I have all the mounts, and I think I can modify this truck to fit. What I was going to do, you see here this little piece here, this bracket, I was going to try to run it off of the end of the cover plate here, but if I do that, then I don't have enough space between the rear of the pilot truck and the first driver. So, and it should be right underneath, right directly underneath, you know, just a few scale inches off is all it is. About half a scale foot, 6 inches off, or so many fraction of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and take out this on the Pimco lead truck here. You got what's called a C-clip. You want to pull that out and get that pin out of here. Hate stuff like this. Get your trusty pair of needle nose, pop it out. So what I'm going to have to do in order to make this work is I'm going to have to ream this out and make it in such a way that it actually that it has kind of a moon pattern to it, like the original like an original truck from Mantua would have. The rear trailing truck goes in just perfect. It's right about where it needs to be, which would, when we make the modifications to the boiler shell and everything, or to the boiler, the trailing truck should sit directly beneath the cab. And the trailing truck, for the most part, is right where it needs to be, right off of a mount for the trailing truck. So, we're going to get started on that now. What you do here is I'm going to attempt to mill out this little hole here, right here, and I'm going to make it into a moon shape, something that will allow it to move laterally. It'll already be able to move, you know, vertically, but I need it to move laterally, back and forth as well, so it'll be able to turn, because I'm gonna work on mounting that. So I've got to make that kind of a moon shape, like the original Dremel would have, or the original Mantua would have. And to do that with, I'm going to use my Dremel. My Dremel's a variable speed tool. And I'm going to use a cutting, a rotating cutting bit. You want to do this on fairly slow speed. If you don't have one of these rotating cutters, you can use should be able to use a small drill bit. Otherwise, you're going to have to use a file. That can be fun. I realize that this is not the easiest task in the world to do, but you know, sometimes, you know, you got to understand, this is a hodgepodge engine. We're putting together parts from several different manufacturers here. The locomotive is built using a Mantua mechanism, a Mantua frame, Mantua drivers. It's got a Bowser motor on it, and you know, with a Bowser worm gear. Worm gear pretty much is a worm gear. The number of teeth is on your worm gear is what determines your gear ratio and gives you good slow speed operation, or doesn't, depends on the worm gear. One thing nice about Bowser is I can pretty well depend on that to give me pretty good operation. So without any further delay, let's get going. Okay, as you can see, I got me a pretty big hole in there. We don't know whether it'll work yet or not, but I've got me a pretty big hole in there nevertheless. Yeah, I think it'll probably work if I make it work correctly and approach this from a common sense point of view. A little bit of clean out is always a necessity whenever you work with a Dremel tool. What you got to be careful of, this is plastic, so because it's plastic, you got to kind of watch it and make sure you don't end up cutting all the way through it. Of course, the same thing with metal. You just got to make sure you don't cut all the way through it. Let's try to get this thing mounted, shall we?